Call 2119 is another call that was played. It's from April 1st, 2022 at 12:29 a.m. It was a call between Damekion Garlington, who's on the wiretap, and Shannon Stillwell, who's in jail at this point, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Damekion is on his normal phone, and you testified that Shannon Stillwell, when you're in the jail, you said there's wall phones, right?
Correct.
Okay, and that's, the jury has heard those recordings where they talk about Securus, and this phone will be recorded, and they are in fact recorded.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Stillwell was not on a recorded line.
Correct.
He was on a cell phone from the jail.
Correct.
Okay, so he, in common sense, he doesn't know that Damekion Garlington is being wiretapped.
Correct.
Okay, and he has no reason to believe that the cell phone he's using from the jail is being recorded.
Correct.
It's fair to say that they believe that they're having a private communication that is not being recorded.
Correct.
All right. Mr. Atkins, could you do me a favor? This call, 2119, and I'm talking about at 12:29 a.m., could you play on April 1st, 12:29 a.m.?
I'm telling folks, bro. I'm like, shit, what the hell they locked up for? Like, they just saying about it. I'm like, bro, they good. I'm just like, they gonna assume some shit like that anyway. They gonna assume that, like, oh, like, y'all ain't did nothing, feel me? So
that's what I keep telling goddamn Lil. I keep telling him, like, just chill. Like, I know,
yeah, cause they
this
saying he
ain't
panicked.
nothing. Yeah, I'm like, this ain't nothing, bro. Like, they just doing that cut. They seen as a goddamn gas station. Like, just chill. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. That's what I'm telling. I keep telling him all the time. I'm like, listen, bro. Just like you, like, bro. I'm telling him probably in the cab. Listen, bro. No, just tell him before you don't want to talk, bro. Like,
Not one word.
yeah.
Go down on what they try to portray or what they say, man. Don't say shit.
Hell yeah. I ain't know that though, but so I didn't.
And you can keep that up because I'm going to ask you to play another part. But thank you, Mr. Atkins. So on that call, again, neither party has reason to believe they're being recorded. That's Damekion Garlington and Shannon Stillwell.
Correct.
And they talk about they going to assume shit.
Correct.
Mr. Garlington says, y'all didn't do nothing.
Correct.
And then Mr. Stillwell says, they just saying it because they seen us at the gas station.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Atkins, if you could please play 11:20 at 11:28.
Yeah, man. What the hell swimming on? You still in the yo?
Yeah. Okay, what is that?
You know what's what?
Yeah, see.
Who? Yo, folk.
Yeah. Okay,
Atkins,
what is
can you
that for
pause
them?
for a second? We're going to come back to that one because I want to get the timing right.
Okay.
What's that?
Okay.
Okay. And that is, Mr. Copeland. Okay. And we're going to come back to that call. But let's talk about Mr. Stillwell's phone that was collected.
Sure.
Okay. Do you know, you're able to view, so you collect the phones, Detective Leon Packer he dumps the phones, and then you're able to view the phones, the contents of the phones through a program called, what's it called, XRZ, is that correct?
XRY.
XRY? Okay. And you get just a whole bunch of information that's in whoever's phone. Pictures.
The contents of the phone are organized by category.
Right, and we're talking about pictures, text, emails, instant message, call logs, location, data, internet searches,
Correct.
notes.
Correct.
Okay. And if you don't know, that's fine, but do you know how many texts or calls total were in this phone?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it would be listed on the extraction, on the front page of the extraction. When you open it up digitally, it'll give you what you're going to see initially is it's everything by category. So it'll say 20,000 texts, 100 calls, things of that nature.
Okay. Ms. Knight, if you would please display 227 VV82. Okay. This is one of the text messages or one of the text conversations that was introduced on Friday, I believe. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. And this is from Mr. Stillwell's phone.
Correct.
All right. And in his phone, Mr. Stillwell's talking to, is that D? Do you know that number to be Damekion Garlington?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Because there's a couple of D's in this case, but you believe this to be Damekion Garlington?
He did change his number right before the wiretap, so I believe that's the number before.
Okay. And if you could zoom out a little bit, Ms. Hilton. Oh, Mr. Atkins, so we can see the whole conversation. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Atkins. So in this conversation, to add context, Mr. Stillwell is indicating that one of his two phones is at Big House.
Correct.
Okay. Do you take that to be Darius Ford's house? And again, let's be clear, this conversation occurred December 24th, 2021.
Okay.
Okay, so we're talking about 3.5 months before any of this involving Christian McMiller's death or Darius Ford's death or Shamel Drink's death occurs.
Correct.
Okay. Do you take that to be Big's phone? Is there another Big? Do you not know?
There is another Big.
Okay. So, but in any event, Mr. Stillwell is saying he left his phone at someone else's house.
Correct.
Okay. And then D says, finna take it in where you at, indicating that he's taking Mr. Stillwell's phone, right?
I don't take that as taking the phone, like finna take it in, like I'm finna go to sleep or go home.
Fair enough.
Like take it in for the night.
Fair enough. Could you go down, Mr. Atkins? Okay, and this is the part that the state introduced. Okay. He says, if Polka asks, tell her I'm op hunting. Okay, he did not say I'm op hunting.
Correct.
He said, if Polka asks, tell her I'm out hunting.
Correct.
Okay? And Polka, you know to be who?
Taisha Alexander.
And that is Mr. Stillwell's girlfriend at the time.
I guess, yes, I don't know. Yes,
Something
at the time,
like- something like
sometimes, yes.
And you also know from your review of the calls that Mr. Stillwell was having some issues with fidelity.
Yes.
Okay. So he's just saying, if Polka asks, tell her I'm out hunting.
Correct.
All right, thank you, Mr. Atkins. Mr. Atkins, can we go back to that call? I think I finally got my stuff together here. Okay, remember that call that we were just talking about with, and just to review, it's Garlington and Mr. Stillwell, and they were talking about people were going to assume things, and they're just saying it because they saw us at the gas station.
Correct.
Okay. I want to play, Mr. Atkins, if you could start playing it. I guess we could start at 11:28.
Yo, folk.
Yeah. I was there with him yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got out of town now. So he's gonna get ready to come back. I just don't lie with his ass.
Yeah. You ain't talked all night. That whole night crazy, bro.
Yeah, I just talked to her today. I talked to her today.
Man, that be
I
crazy.
was telling her, I'm like, he on the cell phone, like, he probably be over there, like, what not? She's like, what? You think you gonna tell on me? I'm like, man, hell nah.
She crazy. I don't even be texting that back no more.
I should be testing on, like, on the tablet and shit.
Yeah, I don't even be responding to that. That crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm finna get bro back his phone, right? I'm gonna get up with you though.
I do that, man. I got you.
Love you.
I love you too.
All right.
All right, Will. Okay. Let me just ask you this, and we're going to get it together, and we're going to get it played. Do you remember on that call, that same call, that unrecorded call? I mean, that these two gentlemen thought that they were talking to themselves without being recorded. Do you remember Mr. Stillwell saying, when they test for gunpowder, it's going to come back clean?
I do.
Okay, and that's on this call.
Correct.
All right. And he does not say the car has been cleaned.
Correct.
He's saying, don't worry about it, because when they test for gunpowder, it's going to come back clean.
Correct.
Okay. And that was on the private call between Mr. Stillwell and Mr. Garlington that they had no reason to believe was being recorded.
Correct.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the phone. You made note of 227 VVB11, and we don't need to display it, but it was basically something in Mr. Stillwell's notes that said, "Pop my shit. I really got options. Poor little ops. They be dropping."
Correct.
Okay, and that was in March 15th, 2022 at 12:52 a.m. The phone says that that's when it was entered.
It might say either modified or entered, yes.
Okay, and that was, and we're going to get to it, but you're aware that Mr. Stillwell's grandmother, Betty Jackson, texted him about the shooting, about seeing it on the news that night?
Objection, assuming facts not.
Well, it's going to be in evidence. I'm asking if she's aware. You're aware of that?
I was aware that Miss Alexander notified him about a shooting in Mechanicsville. I don't know if Miss Jackson did.
Okay. It was hours, this would have been hours after Miss Alexander alerted him as well, correct?
Okay.
Correct?
I'd have to see it. I'm not.
Okay. All right, well, we'll get to it. But this was at 12:52 a.m.,
Okay.
right?
I haven't seen it, so I just.
Okay, and we've already discussed ops,
Correct.
dropping ops. Those are common themes, common topics of drill music, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And at the time, your investigation, at the time that he entered this note into his phone, he was in fact at the studio, correct? At 12:52 a.m. on March 15th.
After leaving the gas station, they went to a studio. I did not have location data on Mr. Stillwell to say, but I believe they should have still been at the studio.
Still been at the studio creating music when he entered that note.
Creating music, hanging out. Like, yeah, that's what they do. Hang out at the
Okay.
studio.
All right, cool. And then you talked about search words, a search that you noted about a Windsor Street shooting, right? That was in Mr. Stillwell's phone.
So he didn't, and I clarified that on direct. He didn't search Windsor Street. He searched Fox 5.
Okay.
and then
Well-
clicked on, and then within Fox 5, then searched the Fox 5 website.
I appreciate that. So on 3/17 at 2 in the morning, Mr. Stillwell clicked on the Fox 5 website to this article.
Correct.
Okay. Didn't search, your testimony is he didn't search words like Windsor Street or anything, but he clicked on the article and that's what shows up in the phone.
I'd have to see the screen. I believe he searched Fox 5, traveled to the Fox, like say I open my phone and I want to go to Amazon, and search Amazon, click on Amazon, and then on Amazon, I would then search. That's what happened. So he searched for Fox 5, went to Fox 5, then went on Fox 5, I believe searched Windsor Street shooting, and then clicked on the article, is what it looks like.
Okay. And Ms. Knight, could you just display 227 VV88 so everyone knows what we're talking about?
Okay, these are excerpts from Mr. Jackson's phone.
Right. And those are, and are those excerpts from, are those conversations from the data that was downloaded from Mr. Jackson's phone?
Sure, the first one is the one that I spoke about that I had seen of Miss Alexander informing him about the shooting.
It's not admitted yet.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Are those accurate representations of the data that was in Mr. Stillwell's phone?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this point, I would move to admit DS57A, DS57C, and DS58 into evidence.
A, C, and E. Say that again, please, if you don't mind.
And there is no DS57B. It's DS57A, DS57C, and DS58.
Oh, okay. Don't know where the E came from. Okay. Those are admitted.
So in this, in DS57A, investigator, this is a conversation between Taisha Alexander, also known as Polka, correct?
Correct.
And Mr. Stillwell.
Correct.
Okay. At 3:14:22, at 11:01 p.m., Miss Alexander reaches out to, or texts Mr. Stillwell and says, "You okay? Somebody just got killed in the Ville. Ugh." Or ugh. Atlanta, too much right now, right?
Correct.
All right. And then they respond to each other with kisses. Mr. Stillwell asks, "Who got killed?" Correct?
Correct.
And then Miss Alexander eventually says, "I don't know yet." But before that, she sends some sort of screen message, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that's at, the message is sent at 11:19:47 p.m., correct?
Correct.
All right. And Mr. Kokomo, if you could publish 57C. And this is the screenshot that, or the picture that Miss Alexander sent to Mr. Stillwell at 11:19 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And it's a photo, and is that Windsor Street?
I believe so.
And it's captioned, "Somebody just got killed in Mechanicsville."
Correct.
And it's posted by someone named Bori Billions.
Correct.
And whenever Miss Alexander sent this picture or downloaded it, it already had 2,000 views, correct?
Correct.
All right. So by that night, just based on what we see in this phone, by that night at 11 o'clock or 11:15 or 19, the word had spread about a shooting, correct?
Correct.
In Mechanicsville,
Correct.
where someone was killed.
Correct.
Okay. And this was not a secret. It was being spread throughout social media.
Correct.
All right. Mr. Kokomo, if you could post DS58. This is a conversation, and I'm sorry, it's marked 58A, so, Your Honor, if we could just amend that to make 58A.
Sure.
Thank you. So, looking at DS58A, this is a conversation between Mr. Stillwell and Boss Lady, correct?
Correct.
And you know Boss Lady to be Betty Jackson, correct?
Correct.
His grandmother.
Correct.
His grandmother who raised him.
Correct.
All right. At 11, Mr. Thank you. At 11:19 p.m., Shannon texts his grandmother, "I love you."
Correct.
Boss lady, or Betty Jackson, responds, "Mama love you so much, heart, heart, kiss, 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 'cause you're my sweet thing."
Correct.
And Mr. Stillwell says, "Yeah." I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but yeah, right?
Sure.
And then Miss Jackson gives a thumbs up, right? And then at 11:26:57, Miss Jackson says to Mr. Stillwell, or texts Mr. Stillwell, "Hope you are not near Windsor Street shooting on the news," right?
Right.
And then she says, "Answer me, please."
Correct.
And eventually at 11:41, 15 minutes later, Mr. Stillwell responds, "I'm at the studio, Ma."
Correct.
Okay. So, at 11:26, according to this conversation, not only did Miss Alexander alert Mr. Stillwell about the shooting on Windsor Street, but Miss Jackson says there's a shooting on Windsor Street, right?
Correct.
And it's on the news.
Correct.
Was this information about the shooting on the news at that point?
I know that the article that Miss Alexander had, that's a female, I don't know her real name, in Atlanta, that wasn't like an ATL scoop or a news thing. And then I don't know how Miss Jackson saw it, so I'm not sure if you got word of mouth from Miss Alexander, worried about it. I don't
Maybe
know.
she saw it on the news. Maybe
I don't know when the news coverage began.
Okay. The bottom line is, by 11:26 that night, two different people had informed Mr. Stillwell about a shooting, a death, Windsor Street,
Correct.
and the word had spread throughout. It wasn't just Mr. Stillwell that was being informed. The word had spread throughout the Atlanta community that quickly.
Correct.
All right. And basically, the phone indicates on March 17th, 2 days later, Mr. Stillwell clicked on a news article about that shooting.
We sought out the news article and then clicked on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
He sought out and clicked on it.
Correct.
All right. Cool. All right. Right when you started testifying, you remember when you were going through a timeline, and I think it was from 2019 to 2020, different events that had occurred?
I do.
Okay. And we heard a lot of names. Tanquarius Mender, right?
Correct.
And you said he's a member of the Rolling Crips.
As well as YSL, yes.
Okay, and we heard about Stephen Harris,
Correct.
and he's a Crip. And we heard about...
No, I'm sorry, Stephen Harris is a member of YSL.
Okay, he's a member of YSL. We heard about Marcus Sims.
Correct.
He's a Crip.
Yes.
Okay, we heard about Wayne Alford. And we heard about a bunch of other names in this timeline
Correct.
that you were going through. Well, first of all, let me just ask you this. When you were asked about all these events, you were referring to some sort of... You were refreshing your recollection with a sheet that was in front of you.
Correct.
Okay, that was highlighted, color-coded.
Correct.
Okay, did you create that sheet?
Mr. Abadi had created the sheet as a timeline.
Okay, so when you were testifying about those events, you were refreshing your recollection. You were being asked questions by the prosecutors, correct?
Correct.
And then you didn't have any reports of your own with you, did you, about any of these events?
No, I didn't. I was at the GBI at that time, and they were APD cases, so they wouldn't be my reports.
So you didn't investigate any of these events?
So the way it would work is gangs typically doesn't take an aggravated assault or a homicide or things of that nature. We will work with those units and provide them information and assist with their investigations. So the reports, I will help with the cases, but they would fall with those investigators.
Did you have any reports with you when you were of your reports with you when you were discussing those?
No.
Okay. but you were refreshing your recollection off of a sheet of paper that was prepared by the prosecutor.
Well, this is something we had discussed, that there's numerous incidents, so we needed a timeline to keep them correct.
All right, well, let me just ask you this. In all those things, 2019, 2020, that you discussed, all those events, Shannon Stillwell wasn't charged with any of those events, was he?
He was not?